Hello, thanks for watching. The book today is a novel, a new novel, came out last year. It's called The Devil's Playground by Craig Russell. I just sort of came upon this book at the library. I was visited my local library over here on 2nd Avenue, and I walked in, I was looking around, and it was sort of sitting on the shelf, like facing out like this instead of like this. And I was sort of looked at it and like, okay. And I read a little bit about it. There was about set in the silent era, and I've always really liked silent movies, so I thought I'd read it. So what we have here is a crime novel, in fact, set in the silent era in Hollywood in 1927. Now, in 1927, for those who don't know that much about silent movies, was kind of the end of the major amount of silent movies being produced because sound was just coming in. The Vitaphone film of The Jazz Singer with Al Jolson came out that year. Sometime, I think, when did it say it came out? Yom Kippur or something? It came out that year, as he said in the book. It came out Yom Kippur, I think. Anyway, whenever Yom Kippur is, I guess it came out sort of toward the fall, and it provided sound on disc. So it was a matter of synchronizing the film with a large record that played while the film was going on, and we see Al Jolson dancing around, do all that stuff that Al Jolson did, and saying, you ain't heard nothing yet, that kind of thing. So anyway, I really like silent movies, and it was clear that the guy, Craig Russell, who wrote the novel, also likes silent movies. Silent movies provide something in the absence of sound that I guess I like things separated like that. Like I like audio dramas too. I got into a big thing of listening to audio plays, and in England, the UK, they still make audio plays that you can listen to regularly, whereas the United States abandoned them basically in the early 50s, even though several of the series of shows went on much later. Anyway, audio dramas, it's not really what I'm talking about here. What I'm talking about is the separation of the media. I always liked audio dramas, and I like silent movies. Somehow there's a bigger quality going on if you could separate these things. One thing, you can make things cheaper, like audio dramas can be made like really, really cheaply, because you don't have to make sets and all that stuff. You don't have to have actors memorize things, so forth. And silent movies, you don't have to worry about sound, which means you can direct the actor while the camera's rolling. And you can rely more on motion. And anyway, there's lots of really great silent movies. I think the greatest of all silent movies came out even after the silent era, which would be City Lights, which came out, I think, in 1931 by Charlie Chaplin, which was a silent movie, even though sound movies were going quite a while by that time. He made this silent movie because he knew that Tramp was a silent character and had more power as a silent character, and made this one final. Well, actually, there was another one. In 1936, he made Modern Times, which is also very good. But to me, City Lights is one of the greatest movies ever, and touches me very deeply. So, back to the novel, Craig Russell. And what goes on here is it starts out in 1967 with a film historian going out to way out into the desert, where he's trying to track down a print of the Devil's Playground, a film that has been lost. And the book is about the production of this movie, The Devil's Playground. So we go back and forth a few times from 1967 and mostly stay in the silent era. So what goes on in the movie, in the Devil's Playground movie, it's a movie about some European city that is overtaken by Satan and so forth. But the plot of the novel is a murder mystery, really. The lead actress in The Devil's Playground is murdered right before the film is completely finished. She's gotten most of her work done, so she's finished, she's wrapped, and other things go on in the movie. Extras, a few extras die in a big fire scene, and what else? Somebody else dies. I forget who else died. It was just an accident on set where a grip or someone or a gaffer really gets hurt. So yeah, there's a lot of stuff in this book. Clearly, that Craig Russell did study the period and came up with some stuff I wasn't even aware of. Like he mentioned this guy, this Dr. John Romulus Brinkley, who lived in from 1885 until 1942 and was this famous quack apparently, and he would I think put goat testicles into men in order to give them more virility, and other corresponding remedy, putting something into women to make them better. I don't know what, something like that. So anyway, he mentions that, and I thought it was interesting. I thought it was a good book. It's a pretty good mystery novel. I read it pretty quickly. And let's see, we have Mary Rourke. The main character is Mary Rourke. Mary Rourke is in the publicity department for Carbine for a film studio named after a guy who changed his name to Carbine. So it's a Carbine International Pictures, and she's basically a fixer is what she really does. She goes around and fixes problems that people have, the stars that get in trouble, that need a side story other than the real story to protect them and protect the studio, the top products of the studio. So people like us out here in the world would go see them and not think that the people who were making them are scandalous and horrible and things like that. So it's a very kind of a complicated story, this murder mystery. And it also involves witchcraft. A witch we have part of the story that goes back into earlier, like 1907. So it also has 1907 going on in Louisiana, where a witch lives in the swamp, or a witchy woman, and she has a daughter, and all the stuff that goes down there where she has to get out of town, basically. And is this the person who ends up in Hollywood? Do they end up in Hollywood? Of course they're going to end up in Hollywood, because that's what the book is all about. Yeah, he talks about a lot of these things about Hollywood, and he is knowledgeable because he knows, the writer Craig Russell knows that there was a lot more freedom in the silent era. It was a less of a big money thing. It was already a big money thing, but not as a big money thing as it soon became after the silence died. I guess after Wall Street crashed in '29 and silence were over and more investments in Wall Street, and whereas now it's just, you know, what is Hollywood run by? Basically agents and the money people, whatever. So yeah, I like to watch movies, but I also prefer to read books, I think. So did we ever find the movie that is being tracked down? Of course, there are lots of lost films. He mentions, actually, what is London at Midnight, which was a Lon Chaney movie that was lost. Of course, portions of Greed were also lost. He talks about the production of Greed a little bit, how von Stroheim put people out in the desert, put the main actors out in the desert, and he said somebody died. I didn't know somebody died during Greed. I didn't check that out to confirm, because, you know, novels will make up stuff as well as tell us about real things. So yeah, so Mary, this, you know, we meet Mary, we meet various personages in the studio system. We meet some ruthless, horrible people who are doing things. The occult stuff is not too much of too much in the picture. It's really kind of little on the side. It has to do with what the movie is and the witch thing a little bit, but ultimately it's not a supernatural book. I think it's pretty much a straight sort of crime thing with supernatural trappings involved with it a little bit. So yeah, I would probably read another Craig Russell book. His previous works include Hyde, The Devil's Aspect, and Fable, and the Fable series of thrillers, and the Lennox series of noir mysteries. Okay. He's Scottish, it says. I didn't detect any Scottishness in the language here. It seemed maybe they Americanized it for the American release of this really kind of fun book, you know. So, you know, thinking about the silent era and silent movie, I've actually started watching part of Babylon. I don't know what that guy's name is. I can't remember. But the, you know, the movie came out last year about Hollywood that had Margot Robbie dancing, you know, very aggressively in the beginning, and I kind of watched a third of it and said, no, this is, it just didn't read true enough to me to be really of interest. I didn't like it. And that's why, you know, I like this novel, because it is kind of true to the scene of the time, you know, with the drunk actors and, you know, actors getting in trouble with the law and having to be fixed by the studio, you know, this fixer woman, and ultimately it comes down. We find out it's a satisfying book as he wraps up everything at the end, and we find out who did what and stuff like that. So you know, I'm glad I read it. It was a nice break from all the nonfiction I'm reading. I've been reading lately, and I would say The Devil's Playground, if you want to read a mystery set in the silent era, I would say go ahead and read The Devil's Playground. It was pretty damn good. Yeah. So there you go. And I'll be back later. I've been watching, you know, who watches my videos, and I'm starting to realize what goes on with YouTube. Like, some of my videos have the, you know, the subject pulls in viewers, clicks. So some of my videos, mostly with more sort of intense topics, social issues that are of the day, and Epstein, the book I reviewed of Whitney Webb, is, I think, the biggest one of all my books. So what I realize, I look at other people doing YouTube, the personality of the YouTube person is really what causes people to come back who have subscribed and watch the guy again. I guess, being an old, sometimes these are attractive women, and I can see the appeal there. Who wants to watch an old man when you can look at an attractive woman talking about the same subjects? So, yeah, I don't think I've really compiled a loyal following who want to just hear Steve babble on about whatever. And that's okay, because I'm going to continue to do what I do with this eclectic smattering of books. I'm trying not to get too cynical about it and too mercenary, which is to say read particular books that I think is going to attract viewers, because that's not what this is about. I'm not going to, I don't care, I'm not expecting to make money out of this. I'm not expecting it to turn into anything other than where I can mouth off a little bit, and I can still do that for now. But I am glad when people do tune in and watch, and when they tune in, click on, when they acknowledge what I do and say they like what I do. And there are certain people who are like that, and maybe they haven't seen all my videos, so I haven't offended them yet. But anyway, I hope to continue to do this for a while, because I'm having fun with it. I do like to read, and I'm a performer, so this is kind of a form of performance for me that is, my own and under my control, which I kind of need right now in my elderly years. So what's next? I think maybe more. A book about polyamory that's brand new. I'll probably talk about that because I've started listening to it in audiobook. And a book about AI. So thank you for watching. And